Welcome back to Bound News Network. We're actually taking a closer look at Invest 91L. It's actually a disturbance that's actually in the Gulf of Mexico, and we wanted to do a special update for our subscribers so that we can have a better understanding of this disturbance. It's actually one of the first disturbances of this nature going into the month of June, as all of our subscribers have been advised. June is a month that the hurricane season starts, so this is of course very, very important for weather forecasters. So we're actually taking a closer look at that circulation, and with this storm we actually see it in the region near Corpus Christi. It's going to be making landfall sometime tonight, early tomorrow. So it is a very close interest for us, and of course it's going to bring additional rain and saturation for the region. We don't anticipating it actually picking up into developing into any kind of intensification, simply because the sea surface temperatures are not exactly at 80 degrees or higher, and also there's quite a bit of dry air, which in this case may be a cyclonic destroyer, simply because dry air tends to promote evaporation, and evaporation doesn't do well. It's more of a cooling phase, and what this really needs is more latent heat to develop more into a severe storm. But we can clearly see the pattern of moisture, low-level moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. We have that high-pressure system further over into the northeast, and that is actually churning almost like a gear system, coupled with the low-pressure system there in the region of Utah. If we take a closer look again, which has been updated by the Storm Prediction Center, we see that we have marginal advisories for the area of Houston, Beaumont, Texas, Lake Charles. Lake Charles actually received saw like 12.5 inches of rain in under 6 hours. So they're actually dealing with advanced flooding risk, and also there was a dam earlier today on Friday that was compromised just to the west and south of Baton Rouge. So Baytown, Texas, as well as Rapid City, South Dakota. As far as South Dakota is concerned, the Dakotas, they are experiencing already heavy rain. There has been a local spotter report of heavy rain in Orrin, North Dakota, and there's tropical force winds in the region of Scranton, Colorado, as well as northern cities of New Mexico. So there's quite a bit of intense weather across the country at this time. There's slight marginal risk for Scottsbluff, Nebraska, as well as Sterling, Colorado, and you can actually see that low pressure system centered quite well and anchored in the region of Utah. And it's actually, we had reports of snow, if you can actually believe that, in the latter part of May in Great Falls, Montana. So we anticipated that there would be some snowfall at higher elevations, higher terrain, and a precipitatory mix of freezing rain in the region of possibly the Great Basin, Wyoming, and also Idaho. If we take a closer look at temperatures, there's pretty much a telltale pattern of what's actually happening. In the region of Texas, we have very, very warm temperatures in the mid-80s. In some areas, we do see like South Florida, Southwest Florida, actually are in the 90s already. So coupled with increased humidity, it feels like summer for a lot of residents, especially along the west coast of Florida. Tampa, St. Petersburg, Sarasota, Fort Myers, Naples are in the 80s. We anticipate a heating trend for the region of Georgia and South Carolina going into the week, almost like a heat dome that will be actually in over the area of the southeast. And of course, we have that pattern of low-level moisture that's reaching up all the way up to the Dakotas and pulling in low-level moisture up into the Dakotas, affecting the weather of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, as well as Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana. So there's quite a bit of severe weather that we're anticipating going into the weekend. We wanted to highlight also the patch of dew points that we're looking at, which is pretty much a wide open area, very, very saturated dew point signatures in the mid 60s to upper 70s, primarily along the coast. In the low 70s for the regions of Lake Charles, Louisiana, as well as anything that's east of the I-35 corridor in Texas. So anything east of the I-35 corridor, and then we're also looking at the regions for Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as well as Lake Charles, and of course they had compromised situation with an aqua dam that may have been compromised. There was a flash flood advisory for that region. We're still seeing the sea surface temperatures of Gulf of Mexico in the low 70s. So of course that's not going to be enough fuel to actually get that Invest 91L going for intensification, only if it has another source of latent heat that it may intensify. A lot of times with these systems, as they get closer to the coast, they can actually intensify simply by pulling in warm energy from the coast as it makes landfall. And we've actually seen that with quite a few different storms going forward. One thing we wanted to make a note of is that Invest 91L is of importance and for observation, simply because it's going to be helping to increase the saturation point of already saturated soil in the region of southeast Texas as well as southwest Louisiana. Most notably, Lake Charles and Baton Rouge area cannot afford to receive any more additional rainfall. But we do see that we anticipate additional rainfall going into the weekend, not only localized to the region of Louisiana and Arkansas and reaching up to the Dakotas, but also we see that here in the region of Utah, there's going to be precipitation for the regions of Wyoming, the Great Basin, Montana, as well as North Dakota and South Dakota. And we're already seeing reports of heavy rain in Orrin, North Dakota already as a result of the system interacting with the low-level moisture that's coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. But if we take a closer look, and it's going to be very important for us to really observe what's happening with this system, that counterclockwise rotation, almost as if there's a small eye there, and it's going to be increasing the stress for the residents of Corpus Christi with gale force winds, gusts up to 45 miles, 45 knots and higher. It's going to probably bring additional rain to the regions of Houston as well as Lake Charles. We can actually see squall patterns on this composite overlay of wind patterns as well as pressure and GOES 16 satellites, so we can actually see what's actually happening closer to the coast. But we anticipate will actually make landfall pretty soon during the early parts of the morning, bringing increased severe weather to Corpus Christi and San Antonio, and possibly even as far further west as Laredo, Texas. But it's going to be making landfall relatively soon, and with that said, it may intensify slightly a bit. We don't anticipate it becoming a depression because the sea surface temperatures are simply not there and it doesn't have enough time to intensify, but it's definitely something that we're watching at this particular time. Going forward, one thing we wanted to make a note of is that low pressure system, as it migrates further into the plain states, we need to take a closer look and see exactly as far as what kind of severe weather is that going to bring to residents of the Dakotas as well as Minnesota and Wisconsin, also the state of Illinois. Do keep in mind that that strong jet of low-level moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico could impact as it makes its way across, which will be additional fuel for severe thunderstorms going into the weekend and also the early part of Monday. But relatively speaking, it is warm in the area of Florida and the southeast. Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina should anticipate very, very warm temperatures going into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, almost as I mentioned, sort of a heat zone. We did have an omega effect where we experienced a shift of hot air coming down through the plains, but eventually that's going to be shifting a little bit more to the east now as this high pressure system actually makes its way off into the Atlantic. We see that low pressure system migrating to the east also, and then we have that injection of low level moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. But it's going to be very interesting to see the remnants of Invest 91L tomorrow, what impact it had. We do see that it was going to bring additional heavy rain. We anticipate that it's going to impact zones as far as eastern Louisiana, New Orleans, possibly even into Mississippi as it makes landfall. Simply just not enough energy, not enough fuel for it to actually intensify, but that remains to be seen as it makes landfall near the coast of southeastern Texas. So we wanted to bring this special report to our subscribers, especially those who are in the path of this disturbance. And I'll always remember to bow to the weather, and we do appreciate all of our subscribers, and thank you so much for watching.